Well, perfect. It is exactly 10:01, so I'm going to go ahead and get us started today. Thank you, everyone, for coming in and joining this Chris-Leef webinar. We're going to be talking through an introduction to garage risks, and we're also going to discuss at the very end a little bit of information about a new market that's open. So my name is Megan Prendergast, and I am the marketing manager here at Chris-Leef. We're so glad to have you joining us. Today is not a class as much as it's just an introduction into the intricacies of riding garage. And really, what we're trying to accomplish today is for everyone who's joining us to feel comfortable submitting these risks and knowing what it is that our team needs to know when you're submitting a risk to us to get you the fastest turnaround with the correct kind of coverages. So the big takeaway is that we are hoping you will be more comfortable with garage and how to utilize this reference going into the future. I'm going to introduce our team to you here. So on the call with us today, we do have John Worley and Janetta Caldwell. They are underwriting superheroes in the land of commercial auto and garage. After our meeting today, will be sending a follow-up email out to everybody who's attending, and that's going to include their contact information as well as the slides that you're going to see today. There's a lot of misconceptions around garage liability, so we just want to make sure that today you're feeling confident in moving forward with our team. And speaking of how to submit risks, which you're going to learn all about here in a second, our next slide is going to show you where you can find all of our applications, which is through our agent portal, an online portal that we've created for all of our agents to be able to utilize some functionality yourself, including being able to get to our online fillable PDF applications. So there are some steps on the screen here. Again, this will get sent out to you at the end of our meeting as a follow-up, and I'll be sure to include any applications or forms that are mentioned today. But the other thing that's going to be in there is a link for you to request your access to our agent portal, The Grove. So with that, I'm going to hand this over to John Worley, and he's going to talk you through these interesting and intricate risks. John, go ahead.
Hi, everyone. As Megan said, I am John Worley. I am the garage transportation and commercial team lead here at Chris-Leef. Been here for almost 6 years, and been the garage underwriter for 4 years. So I know some of it's gonna sound like a foreign language to you at first if you don't know anything about it. But I'm gonna try to walk you through it just to give you a big overview of things so you can kind of get like a general understanding. So our agenda for today is we're going to try to make sure you leave here with some more knowledge about garage liability, a better understanding of the coverages and what to look for in these risks. How are we going to do this? We're going to focus on these 5 areas. Garage liability, what it covers, who it's for, and how to know if you need it. The symbols, which that can always get really tricky and look complicated to somebody that's not around it all the time. Physical damage coverage, information as it pertains to the physical damage coverage and which kind of physical damage coverage is needed. What to look for, how is a risk evaluated, and what is needed. And then we'll go over some facts, some frequently asked questions, and some new market info, which is going to be a big one because we do have a new non-admitted Kansas dealers market for the first time since I've been here. So going forward here, first kind of want to kind of give you show you kind of the differences, because people come in and they're always wanting to know, is this garage liability? Is this general liability? The big thing is to know, there's actually 2 big things. You want to know, is there an auto exposure? Is there care, custody, and control of a vehicle? Those are the things that are going to lead it more towards garage liability than a general liability, because it gets tricky when you're looking at things like a tire shop. the vast majority of tire shops, they're going to lean toward that garage liability because they have installation. But if they're only selling tires, that's just a product they're selling, so there's no auto exposure. That's going to be leading towards general liability. And garage liability, again, car washes. That's another one. Is it full service? Well, the employees are probably taking care, custody, and control of that vehicle to complete the wash, while a self-service is just a general liability. It's a building with something that is happening there. You just need premises liability. Um, Garage liability is, I'm going to give a kind of a big overview because this is what people ask all the time. Kind of get it confused with general liability. Garage liability is general liability. It's a combination of general liability and auto liability. You have your premises exposure, and then you have your auto exposure, and it's all on one form. So if you look here, this copy of this deck page, you'll see that there's two limits for both your GL and your auto liability. And this isn't always the same. Some, like a Colony, they're going to combine those all under one word of dealer liability or garage liability or service liability, but that all means the same thing. But this is more like what like a Western world or something would do. They break it apart into GL and the auto liability. But again, it all is combined to be garage liability. This combination product enables us to cover the insured's entire exposure. For example, I want to give you an example of a dealership. Why you would need both of these coverages in the one garage liability to help your business. So a dealer, they're going to have a premises exposure. So somebody's walking around their lot and they slip and they fall, that's going to be covered under the general liability, premises liability. And then the auto liability comes up when that person takes that vehicle out for a test drive and they run into somebody else or they hit something. That's where the auto exposure, why having the combined general liability and auto liability in the one garage liability is important. I do want to go over kind of the two different. So there's the one big product of of garage liability, but that is kind of broken out into two different products too. There's a dealer, and then there is service. So with the dealer, if this, a lot of people, a lot of insureds will not understand what they need totally, especially if they're new, if they haven't been in the business long, or if they haven't ever just ran a dealership by themselves. But if the insured has a dealer's license and is selling vehicles that are operational for road use, that is a dealer. In the states in Kansas and Missouri, if the insured is a dealer, they need to provide proof of garage liability to the state. This is just for liability, though. This is all the state requires. They don't require any kind of physical damage coverage. That's all optional. We'll go over that later, but that is very much an optional coverage. That is not 100% required for the state. The state just wants to make sure that you're covering your backside, that you're covered there when you're running your operation. The next is the service shops. So service and repair. This can be mobile or a physical location. We see a lot nowadays. We see a lot of mobile operations, especially after the pandemic. I feel like there was a lot of entrepreneurial spirit grown after we all kind of went apart for a while and came back together, and people are starting these mobile tire repair, mobile roadside assistance, or even mobile farm equipment, heavy truck repair. We're seeing a lot of those nowadays. This is again where you're gonna see that, is there an auto exposure here? This is what really makes this fall under the garage liability. I do want to kind of go over the different examples of these two different types of garage risk. So with a dealer, that could be anything. The main one you're going to see is those non-franchise dealers, especially in Kansas, Missouri, these small towns. You're going to see the little mom and pop shops, small town dealers. That's just going to be a non-franchise dealership. You're going to see classic and exotic dealers, heavy truck dealers, motorcycle dealers, which I'm going to mention later. We didn't recently have an option in Kansas for this, but now we do. Salvage title dealers. That's another one where the entire operation is salvage title vehicles being sold. I do want to point out right now that if you do come across one of these one of these operations, we can write the liability, but that's more of a physical damage coverage. That's not going to be something that any of the carriers are going to really want. But and then a wholesale dealer, and if you're not familiar, that is somebody that sells vehicles to other dealerships, not to the general public. Then the types of service shops you're going to see are going to be body shop and painting, car washes, dent removal shops, or detailers. That's a big one nowadays. Another one that you're going to see a lot of. Motorcycle repair shops, oil and lube shops, trailer repair shops, valet parking. That does fit under the service because there's that auto exposure of them taking the auto and driving to where they need to park it. And then window tinting. Now, if this does happen, because people ask me every day, if the insured is doing both dealer and service operations, it'll be written with the highest exposure, which the carriers are always going to consider this the dealer. They're always going to want you rated as a dealer, just because there's so much more that can happen there when you give the keys of a vehicle to the public and they go out driving on the streets. So we're gonna go over some optional coverages here. First is UIM, or uninsured motorists and underinsured motorists. So there's some options with this one. You can decline the coverage, but not in Kansas or Missouri. This is a required coverage. But you can also accept bodily injury limits or reject bodily injury limits and then choose a lower limit, which in Kansas there's a UIM rejection form that comes along with every quote that has to be sent in at the time of binding. This coverage, it's regulated by the states, and it typically only reflects bodily injury. With most states, the physical damage portion of this is optional. For example, Kansas physical damage is not covered under UIM. However, in Missouri, physical damage is optional. The next would be HIP coverage. Now, this is personal injury protection, so no fault coverage. And in Kansas, this is mandatory at a $4,500 limit. Then we have auto med pay, which typically anywhere from $500 to $5,000 goes to other people. This goes to other people in your car. This is also considered a no fault coverage. However, this is typically seen either with or alongside premises med pay. For example, a person's this could also cover, like I said, the premises med pay, somebody walking around the dealership, tripping, falling, not under the that's not covered under the liability. So this is kind of a confusing part, and this is what we're here for. Symbols. These are confusing, and if you ever have questions, reach out to us, because this is where it gets a little confusing. But these are the symbols that they're written under. So symbol 21, any auto. Symbol 22, owned autos only. That's more for a dealer. 23 is owned private passenger autos. 24 is owned autos other than private passenger autos only. 25 is owned auto subject to no fault. 26 is owned auto subject to a compulsory uninsured motorist law. 27 specifically described autos. 28 is hired autos only. 29 is non-owned autos used in your garage business. And then 30 and 31, these are physical damage coverage symbols. I will say you won't ever use the majority of these. 22, 29, 30, 31, and then maybe another one or two. But those are going to be your main symbols. Um, and you're not going to use them as much. These will come up more in questions from insureds and other things that it's just not something you're going to use as much. So more for our side of things, I feel like, and you'll see on the policies. But we're going to go over some of the physical damage coverages now. And first we want to do here is dealer's physical damage, also known as dealer's open lot or DOL. The symbol used for this coverage is symbol 31, dealer's autos. So there's three different options here for the specific perils. There's going to be comprehensive, collision, or specified cause of loss. So all of these, you're going to choose between comprehensive or specified cause of loss, or SCOL. I want to go shorten it up. And then collision's always going to be on there on itself, but you have to choose between one of the comprehensive and specialized cause of loss. Specified cause of loss. Comprehensive, so that's going to cover anything except collision with another object. And specified cause of loss, just like it sounds, it's more specific. It's going to be fire, lightning, or explosion, theft, windstorm, hail, or earthquake, flood, mischief or vandalism, the sinking, burning, collision, or derailment of any conveyance transporting the covered auto. So while it's being shipped or moved. And then collision. Like I said, this is the coverage that's everything that comp or SCOL does not do, which is collision with an object or an overturn. So some of these perils inside of like comprehensive can be excluded, like wind, hail, and flood. That always ends up depending on loss history and location. And you'll notice there's always going to be, depending on my Wichita people being in Sedgwick County, you're always going to see like a higher wind hail deductible. It's where you live. Way more claims on the wind hail there. It's always just going to be higher there. Then we're going to go into greater detail here in a little bit about calculating and covering entire inventories. But the big thing is these policies have co-insurance on them, usually at 80 to 100%. But Colony, our main carrier for dealers in Kansas, is 100%. So if you're not insuring the entire inventory and there's a loss, you're going to have a co-insurance penalty. So these are things that, again, we're going to go over here in a minute, but to think about when you're meeting with the insureds. Next, the other type of physical damage coverage is garage keepers. This is for your service and repair operations. This is going to be covered under that symbol 23. Again, it's going to be, you're going to have your perils, your comprehensive, collision, and specified cause of loss, but you have to choose the type of coverage. So there's two here. There's going to be legal liability, or there's going to be direct primary. When you're filling out an application, you'll see that. And the difference is legal liability, the insured has to be found legally liable for the loss for them to pay on. Direct primary, they're pretty much going to pay on it when there's the claim. That is because it's not as specific as legal liability, and they're more likely to pay on a claim. We have to go for approval from the carriers for that coverage. It's going to be more expensive, and the carriers are going to want to see that they've been in business for a while, and everything is it's just a good risk. They don't like offering that coverage near as much. Next thing I want to go over here is, like I said, calculating the lot limits. These are the four biggest things. If you ever send anything to me about, oh, how are we supposed to know how much garage keepers or dealer physical damage coverage on there? This is what you do. What is the max number of units on the lot? What is the average number of units on the lot? What's the maximum value per unit, and then the average value per unit? And there's my little example there, little arithmetic there, or a little to kind of calculate that. As I said before, these co-insurance penalties are on there, and most of the carriers are going to be 100% co-insurance. So we have to make sure that the entire inventory is accounted for. We're going to run into some co-insurance penalties at the time of a loss. This time, before we move forward with a couple things, is there any questions in the chat or anything?
I didn't see anything in the chat, but I did just have a quick question myself listening to you present. You mentioned that as our agents are working with garage risks, especially if they have someone come into their office that's a new venture, that, you guys are a great resource for them to be able to answer questions. I just wanted to confirm for everybody here, we are able to accept new ventures with our current appetite. Is that correct?
Yeah, new ventures are totally acceptable.
We love.
And the only issue we ever have is if they don't have experience in the industry. Carriers don't budge on this. They have to have some form of 2 years of experience in the industry. But other than that, new ventures, we write those constantly. So
Fantastic.
Actually, that kind of leads right into making you good at this. Leads right into my next part. When you're meeting with these insureds, this is what you're going to look for in a dealer. These are the main things. This is what helped build our rates. This is everything. So you want to look for their experience. Like I said, they need to have at least the owner needs to have at least 2 years of experience in the field. What kind of vehicles are being sold? That's a big thing. Like I said, we see everything. Normal private passenger vehicles are going to be the vast majority, but motorcycle dealers, heavy truck is a big one. Even farm equipment dealers, we write plenty of those. Driver's license numbers, driver's license in general. So, gonna go on a tangent here. We do have issues with international licenses. You have to think these vehicles are being driven by the employees as well as the customers, and they have to have the employees and the owner have to have a valid driver's license. The carriers like it from the residing state that the risk is in. Being here in Kansas City, we're on the line. That's a little bit of more of a gray area. But if they have like an Oregon license, a New Mexico license, or a Kansas, they're gonna want to know why. So these are questions we need to know answers of up front. This thing just makes it easier getting to us and asking MVRs or driving history. We need to know what their driving history is, if there's been losses. The number of vehicles sold, that's a big one. The transportation of autos. How are they getting from, when they're purchasing these vehicles, how are they getting from the auction to the lot? And then are they delivering any of these vehicles to customers? Those are big things. You'll see questions of that like that on the Garage app. And then household family members. Who's got access to these keys? Who's got access to the vehicles themselves? Is there a son that's been given a plate to go when he's going off to call? That happens 4 times than I can count. That they're going off to college and they give the son a plate to drive his vehicle, which is fine. We just need to know about it, and it needs to be accounted for and make sure everybody's of age and whatnot. So let's go over what we look for in the service shops. What types of vehicles? are being worked on. I know service shops, it's more of a wide range of things. Like especially in small towns, guys are going to be a jack of all trades with these vehicles. So um, when you complete an app on the front page, it's going to list the kinds of vehicles, and you put in a percentage of how much the operation is, which types of vehicles, and if it's over 10% of those things, most of the time there's separate supplementals that are needed. So let us know ahead of time if there's, or reach out for a supplemental. We can get those to you. And is there any towing? So that's a big thing. A lot of service shops, again, in small towns, guys got to make money, being a jack of all trades, and they'll have like a towing operation on the side. We need to make sure that, are they towing for hire? Are they just towing? Say a lot of these service shops, they'll go and they own a truck and they'll go and tow a broken down vehicle back to their shop to fix for a customer. These are things we need to know about. And then go over some of our FAQs here. So garage liability versus garage keepers. Garage liability, remember, it is a liability coverage. Garage keepers, you'll hear this a lot. Garage keepers, legal liability. That is a physical damage coverage. So try, it can get very confusing. That garage keepers is a Bailey's coverage. So those are two separate things, not one liability, one physical damage Bailey's coverage. Dealer plates versus transporter plates. You'll get asked this on applications, and it gets to be quite confusing, or it can seem confusing, and that dealer plates are what the insured throws on the back of a car when going on test drive, or if they're, using one of the vehicles for personal use. They're furnished one for personal use. And transporter plates are different. These can be used by anyone and slapped on any car. They can be even rated for as a commercial auto policy with the tag number instead of the VIN number. Some contract drivers use these at auctions, which we write a few big auctions, and that's what they're going to use. At least some of them will use. Do all employees need to be listed on the application? Yes, all employees need to be listed on the application. Even inactive investors and secretaries, lot people, like any employee needs to be listed. That employee list is what builds our rate, is one of the main components of building our rate. So most time people think that if you're not dealing with the cars, there's no exposure. I'll say that a lot. Well, they're not a driver. That doesn't matter. They're an employee. They need to be accounted for. Does the insured need GL? Since the garage liability is a combination between auto liability and GL, most of the time, no. Now, say they have another operation going on at the location. Say they also, you see this a lot, they sell like sheds and they do these things. And yeah, then they might need a separate GL. But if it has to do with the service of vehicles or the selling of vehicles, that's covered under the garage liability.
So we know a lot of you are on here to learn a little bit more about our new non-admitted market. We're very excited. So the president of Chris-Leef, Chris Peterson, who most of you have worked with for years and know well, has been working for a while now to get Kansas opened to allow garage risks in a non-admitted market. And we've also been working with our carriers to develop and release this product to our agency partners. So we are thrilled to announce that all of that work from Chris is coming now for us. And our first carrier that has released this market is Atlantic Casualty, and we have even more carriers that are currently working to expand their offerings for you even further. So we've got more that are coming down, and obviously anytime we bring on a new market that we've been working to get to give our agents more options, we will make sure that that is announced out to you and that everyone is aware of that. So what does this mean for you? Well, first, this means that we have another option in Kansas. For a very long time, there have been very, very few markets that have been available. So this is a new option, which is fantastic. Now, with it being a non-admitted market, fees and taxes are going to work a little bit different than what you might be used to from our admitted risks. So we just want to make sure that you as the agent are really making sure to look over those quotes as they're coming out to you. And if you do have any questions about those changes, that is a perfect time to reach out to John and Janetta. They are truly experts. They've been doing this for a very long time. So I hope that everybody was able to learn a bit from the presentation that they put together here. But the big thing is that we can now write operations that have 100% sales of motorcycle or ATV in Kansas. This has opened this up for us. And we can write new tire dealers in Kansas, new operations. Now, experience is different than operations, right? And something that John pointed out here, man, with these risks, full, complete applications are imperative. It is not the sort of thing where we can go and just start working on these things and getting things up and running without those full applications. We truly need to know all of the information, including the difference between how long the operation has happened and how much experience the owner has, right? But the other thing is our team has been quoting in this new market, and they are finding the premiums to be competitive for some risks. So something that you as our agency partners can always trust from everyone at our team here at Chris-Leef is that we will approach the correct market and get you the coverage that your insured needs based on the risk. So that is what we are offering to you as we bring in this new non-admitted market, as more carriers develop this product. We, as our team of experts, will learn these markets from these carriers. We will learn these products, and we will make sure that when you send something to us, that we know who the best person to go to for that risk is. What's helpful for us, though, from you, is letting us know if what you're looking for. Are you looking for premium in a certain range? Are you renewing this and looking to shop it around, and you have a target that you're looking at? Let us know. So that'll help direct our team where we need to go as well. So that's what this means for you. More information coming as we do more and more of these things. Wow, we really thank you guys for coming and giving us this time to chat through these truly complicated risks. I hope that everybody feels like you've learned something and you've come away from our class today just having a little bit more confidence in those applications. Again, after our meeting today, we'll be sending a nice follow-up to everybody, and it will include the contact information for both John and Janetta, who truly have just so much expertise in this field. They're a great resource for you, and we always want you to feel comfortable picking up your phone, giving us a call. We will answer your call. We will answer your questions. We are here to partner with you. So thank you, everybody, for joining us today. We'll stay on in case there are any more questions for just a few more minutes, but if not, have a great rest of your day, and thank you for joining us. Bye-bye.